I invited Jim over to dinner. Now, I had known Jim slightly in high school. Oh, in high school, Jim was a hero. I mean, he had tremendous Irish good nature and vitality with a scrubbed and polished look of white china. And then he seemed to move in a continual spotlight. He was star on the basketball team, captain of the debating club, president of the glee club, and senior class, and had the male lead of the annual light opera. I mean, he seemed to be forever running or bounding, never just walking. I mean, he seemed always just at the point of defying the laws of gravity, and he shot with such velocity through his adolescence that you would just logically expect him to arrive at nothing short of the White House by the time he was 30. But apparently Jim ran into some interference because after graduation, his speed had definitely slowed. And at this particular time in our lives, Jim wasn't holding a much better position than mine at the warehouse. Actually, Jim was the only one at the warehouse with whom I was on friendly terms. But I was valuable to Jim. I was valuable as someone who had seen him win basketball games and the silver cup in debate. And while the other boys at the warehouse regarded me with suspicious hostility, Jim took a humorous attitude toward me. And while Jim knew my secret practice of retiring to the washroom to work on my poems and business was a little slack at the warehouse, he called me Shakespeare. And even after a time, the boys' hostility actually started to gradually wear off. And even at some time, they even started to smile at me. Well, as someone would smile at some oddly fashioned dog who trots across the path at some distance. Now, I knew that Jim and Laura had known each other in high school because my sister Laura had spoken so admiringly of Jim's voice. But I didn't know if Jim would remember Laura, well, because my sister Laura was as unobtrusive as Jim had been astonishing. And if Jim didn't remember Laura, it was not as my sister, well, because when I invited Jim over to dinner, he smiled at me and said, "You know, Shakespeare, I never thought of you as having folks." Well, he was about to discover that I did.
Why are you trembling so, Laura?
Mother, you've made me so nervous.
Why, how have I made you nervous?
By all this fuss, you make it seem so important.
Why? Honey, I don't understand you at all. Every time I try to do anything for you the least bit different, you just seem to set yourself against it. Look at yourself. Wait a minute. I forgot something.
What is it?
A couple of improvements. Of course you'll wear them.
Why should I?
Well, honey, to tell you the truth, you're a little bit, flat-chested.
You make it seem like we were setting a trap.
We are. All pretty girls are traps, and men expect them to be trapped. Now, look at yourself in that glass. See? Look just like an angel on a postcard. Isn't it lovely? Now, you wait here. Your mother is going to dress herself, and you will be astonished at her appearance. Found an old dress in the trunk. Had to do a lot to it, but it broke my heart. Let it out. Laura, come look at your mother. Oh no, Laura, come look at me now.
How lovely.
Used to be. Used to be. Had a lot of flowers on it, but they got all the ties. Had to take them all off. I led the cotillion in this dress years ago. Won the cakewalk twice at Sunset Hill, and I wore it at the governor's ball in Jackson. You should have seen your mother. You should have seen how your mother sashayed around that ballroom just like that. I wore it on the day I met your father. See, I had malaria fever too. The change in climate from East Tennessee to Delta weakened my resistance. Not enough to be dangerous, just enough to make me restless and giddy. Oh, it was lovely. Invitations poured in from all over. My mother said, you can't go any place. You have the fever and you have to stay in bed. said, no, I won't. I took quinine and kept on going and going, dances in the evening, long rides in the country, and afternoon picnics. That country, so lovely and made all lacy with dogwood and simply flooded with jonquils. My mother said, you can't bring any more jonquils in this house. I said, I will, and I kept on bringing them anyhow. Tell you the truth, got to be kind of a joke. Look out, they said. Here comes that girl, and we'll spend all afternoon picking jonquils. My mother said, you can't bring any more jonquils in this house. There are no more vases to hold. I said, that's quite all right. I can hold some myself. Malaria fever, your father, and jonquils. I hope your brother and Mr. O'Connor gave him a little extra change so he and Mr. O'Connor can get here before it starts to rain.
Mother,
What's the matter now?
what did you say his name was?
Mr. O'Connor, why?
What is his first name?
Well, I don't know, child. Yes, I do. It was Jim.
Oh, Mother, not Jim O'Connor.
Yes, it was Jim. I never knew a Jim that wasn't nice.
Are you sure that was Jim O'Connor?
Why, sure, I'm sure. Why?
Is he the one that Tom used to know in high school?
I don't know. I think they just got to know each other down at the warehouse.
There was a Jim O'Connor we both knew in high school. If that's the one that Tom is bringing home to dinner, oh, Mother, you'd have to excuse me.
What sort of silly talk is this now, Laura?
Ask me once if I'd ever liked you. Don't you remember I showed you this boy's picture?
You mean the boy from the yearbook?
Yes, that boy.
Laura. What's wrong with that boy?
I don't know, Mother. All I know is that I couldn't sit at the table if it was him.
It won't be him. It isn't the least bit likely, but whether it is or not, you will come to the table and you won't be excused.
I'll have to be, Mother.
I don't intend to humor your silliness, Laura. Not enough from you and your brother both. Just sit there and collect yourself until they come. And you have to let Tom in when they arrive, because he forgot his key.
Mother, you answer the door.
How can I? I haven't even finished the mayonnaise dressing for the salmon.
Mother, please answer the door. Don't make me do it.
Honey, do be reasonable. I don't understand all this fuss over one gentleman caller, just one. Sweetheart, the door.
Mother, please, you answer the door.
What is the matter with you, you silly thing?
Please, you answer, please.
Why have you chosen this moment to lose your mind?
I can't,
Why can't you?
because I'm sick.
You're sick and I'm sick. You and your brother have me puzzled to death. I can never understand why you can be never normal children. Will you give me one good reason why you should be afraid to march over to that door? Boy, Winkler, you march to that door. Straight to that door. Got courage in you. Honey, for living.
Laura, this is Jim. Jim, this is Laura.
Well, I didn't know Shakespeare had a sister. How are you, Laura?
How do you do?
I'm all right. Your hands are cold.
Well, I've been playing Victrola.
Nah, I see you playing that classical music. You gotta play a little hot swing and warm you up a bit. What's the matter?
Oh, Laura's just terribly shy.
Shy, huh? Well, you do know it's unusual to be a shy girl nowadays. I don't believe you ever mentioned to me that you had a sister.
Well, now you know I have one. Oh, you want a piece of the paper?
Oh, yes.
Comics.
Comics, sports. I see that Dizzy Dean is on his bad behavior again.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Where are you going?
Oh, out on the chairs to have a smoke.
All right. You know Shakespeare?
Yeah?
I'm going to sell you a bill of goods.
What goods?
The course I'm taking.
What course?
Course on public speaking. Me and you, we're not the warehouse types.
Ah, thanks. That's good news. But what does it have to do with public speaking?
I mean, like, it fits you for executive positions.
Oh.
Yeah, I tell you, it's done a heck of a lot for me.
In what respect?
In all respects. I mean, ask yourself, what's the difference between me, you, and the guys down at the front office? Brains? No. Now, primarily, it amounts down to one single thing.
Okay, and what's that one thing?
Social voice. The ability to square up with anybody and hold your own on any social level.
Tom,
Yes, Mother?
is that you and Mr. O'Connor?
Yes, Mother.
Make yourselves comfortable.
We will.
Ask Mr. O'Connor if he would like to wash his hands.
I'm fine, ma'am. I took care of that down at the warehouse. Tom,
Yes?
Miss Mendoza was speaking about you.
Favorably?
What about you think?
I don't know.
You're gonna be out of a job soon if you don't wake up.
Oh, I'm waking up.
Yeah, but I don't see any signs of that.
The signs are interior. I'm right at the point of committing myself to a life that doesn't include Mr. Mendoza or the warehouse or even an evening course in public speaking.
What are you gassing about?
I'm tired of movies.
Movies?
Yes, movies. Look at them. All of those glamorous people having adventures, just hogging it up, gobbling the whole thing up. You know what happens? People go to the movies instead of moving. Hollywood characters are supposed to have all the adventures for everybody in America, while everybody in America sits in a dark room and watches them having it. Yes, until there's a war, then adventure becomes available to the masses, everyone's dish, not only neighbors. Then the people in the dark room come out of the dark room to have some adventure for themselves. Goody, goody. I mean, it's our turn now to go to the South Sea Islands to make a safari, to be exotic, far off. I'm not patient. I don't want to wait till then. I'm tired of the movies and I'm about to leave.
Ooh.
Yes,
When?
soon.
Where?
What? Shh. I'm starting to boil inside now. I know I seem dreamy, but I'm tired of the movies, and every time I pick up a shoe, I shudder a little, thinking just how short life is and what I am doing, whatever that means, I don't. But I know it doesn't mean shoes, except as something to wear on travelers' feet.
What? Tom, shh. What are you talking about?
I'm a member.
The Union of Merchant of Seamen.
Yes. I paid my dues last month instead of paying the light bill.
You regret it when they turn off the lights?
I won't be here.
Wait, well, what about your mother?
I'm just like my father, a chip off the old block. I mean, he's been absent going on 16 years.
You're just talking, Drip. How does your mother feel?
Shh. Mother doesn't know about my plans, and she isn't acquainted with them.
Tom,
Yes.
is that you and
Mother.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes, Mother.
Well, where are you all?
Out on the terrace, Mother.
Why don't you come in?
Mother, you look so pretty.
You know, that's the first compliment you've ever paid me. Wish you would look more pleasant. You're about to say something pleasant, so I can respect you. Mr. O'Connor. Well, this is the Mr. O'Connor. Introductions entirely unnecessary. I've heard so much about you from my boy. I finally told Tom, why don't you bring Miss Peregrine over for supper finally? I'd like to meet this young man at the warehouse. Instead of hearing your praises sang so much. My son is a little standoffish. Not Southern behavior. Let's sit down. Tom, close the door. You stand a little more in here. Tom, leave the door open. There was a fresh breeze in here a moment ago. I don't know where it is gone to. It's just burning up. We really gonna burn up when summer really gets here? Well, however, we're having a light supper. You know, light things are good for this time of year, just like light clothes are. Light clothes and light food just are good for, the warm weather. Our blood gets so thick in the wintertime, and it's just hard for adjusting, when the season changes. It came so quickly this year, I wasn't prepared. I looked up at heavens, it was summer already. But you know, I went in the trunk, found this dress. It's really old, historical almost, but it...
Mother, how about our supper?
You go ask sister if supper's ready. You know, she's in full charge of supper this evening. Have you met Laura?
Oh, she came to the door.
She let you in?
Yes, ma'am.
She's very pretty.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
You know, it's rare to find a pretty girl, sweet and domestic, but thank heavens, Lord, she is very domestic. I never was a kid. I never could make anything but angel food cake. You know, well, in the South, we had many servants, but gone. Oh, that esteemed, gracious women, gone completely. But you know, all of my gentlemen callers were sons of planters. You know, and so I assumed that I would marry one and have my children on a nice piece of land with plenty of servants. But man proposed, and women accept proposals. But to vary that old saying a little bit, I married no planter. I married a man who worked for the telephone company. That gallant and smiling young man up there. Yes, a telephone man who fell in love with long distance. Now he travels and I don't even know where. Well, why am I going on about my tribulations? I hope you don't have any time.
Yes, Mother.
What about supper?
Our supper's on the table.
Well, so it is. Where's Laura?
Well, Laura isn't feeling well and thinks that maybe she shouldn't come to the table.
Laura? Laura?
Yes, Mother.
Well, honey, we can't say grace until you come to the table. Mr. O'Connor?
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, Mother, I'm so sorry.
It's all right. Oh, all that work on that stove made it. I told her it was just too warm this evening. Tom, is Laura all right?
She's feeling better, Mother.
Well, you come and say grace.
What?
What do we do before we generally have something to eat? We say grace, don't we?
For these and all thy gifts, thy holy name be praised.
You know, Mr. O'Connor, I haven't had an evening such like this in a very long time.
Well, Miss Wakefield, here, let me tell you something. Here's to the old South.
The old South.
Oh, Mr. Lightbulb.
Where was Moses when the lights went out? You know the answer to that one, Mr.
Oh,
O'Connor?
no, ma'am, I don't know the answer to that one.
Well, I heard an answer, but I thought you would know another.
Oh, no, ma'am.
Well, it's good that I set these candles out. I only put them out for ornamentation. It's nice to see that they prove useful to me. If one of you gentlemen can provide me with some illumination, have some light.
I can, ma'am. No problem.
Must be the fuse box. Miss O'Connor, do you know anything about the fuse box?
Well, I know a little about them, ma'am, but where is it exactly?
Must you know that too? Well, it's in the kitchen. No. Go check the fuse box. It's in the kitchen. It's dark. Don't stumble over anything. Terrible that we just lost him. Are you all right, Mr. O'Connor?
I'm all right, ma'am.
Well, you know, electricity is a very mysterious thing, Tom. Wasn't it Benjamin Franklin who tied the key to the pipe? I might have seen that. He probably might have said it for you. Science says that it clears up all mysteries. I just think it just keeps adding more. Mr. O'Connor, have you found it yet?
Well, I found it all right, ma'am, but the fuses look okay to me.
Right. Tom,
Yes, Mother.
you know that electric bill that I gave you 7 days ago when I got the notice from?
You mean last month's bill?
Yes, you didn't neglect to pay it now, did you?
Well,
You did! I might have known it.
Well, maybe Shakespeare wrote a poem on that light bill.
I'm sure. You know, there's such a high price of negligence in this world today.
Well, maybe that poem wasn't a $10 prize.
Huh? I'm sure before we can get some light. Now, I'm happy that we were able to finish our food before we were thrusted into everlasting darkness.
Candlelight's my favorite kind of light now.
Well, that just shows that you're romantic. That's no excuse for time, however. It's foolish. Well, that's your penalty. You can help me with the dishes.
Can I be of some help, ma'am?
No. I wouldn't allow that.
Well, I ought to be good for something.
What did I hear?
Oh, I just said I ought to be good for something.
Well, that's what I thought you said. Laura's out back. I think she would enjoy your company. I can give you these two. I can give you this lamp. It used to be on the altar at the Church of the Heavenly Rest. But the church, it's a little melted because the church burnt down. You know, the church was struck by lightning. Gypsy Jones was having a revival, and he said it was struck because the Episcopalians was having card parties in church.
Is that so, man?
I wouldn't say it if it wasn't so. I think Laura would like some dandelion wine. You think you can carry both?
I can try, man.
All right, Tom.
Yes, ma'am.
You put on your apron.
Well, how are you? Feeling any better?
Yes, thank you.
Well, here, this is for you. It's a little dandelion wine. Well, drink it, but don't get drunk. Say, where do I put the candles?
Oh, anywhere.
Okay. How about right here on the floor? You got any objections?
No.
All right. I like to sit on the floor. Do you mind?
No.
Thank you. Can I have a pillow?
What?
A pillow.
Oh,
Thank you. Well, how about you? You like to sit on the floor?
oh yes.
Why don't you?
I will.
Grab a pillow. Wow, I can't see you sitting way over there.
I can't see you.
That's not fair. I'm in the limelight. There we go. Good. Now, are you comfortable?
Yes, thank you.
Good. I am comfortable too. Comfortable as a cow. And a piece of gum?
No, thank you.
Okay, I think I will indulge. Think of the guy that invented the first piece of chewing gum. Fortune he must have made. Did you know that the Wrigley building was in Chicago? It's one of the sites, actually. I saw it the summer before last at the Century of Progress. Did you take it to the Century of Progress?
No, I didn't.
I'll tell you, it's a much more wonderful exposition. You know, what impressed me the most was the Hall of Science. It gives you like this idea what the future will be like in America. Much more wonderful time than the present. Laura, your brother Tom tells me that you're shy. Is that so?
I don't know.
Well, I judge you to be an old-fashioned type of girl, you know? I think it's a wonderful type to be. I hope you don't mind me being personal with you, do.
Mr. O'Connor,
Yes.
I believe I will take a piece of gum, if you don't mind. Thank you. Mr. O'Connor, have you kept up with your singing?
See? Me?
Yes. I remember what a beautiful voice you had.
You heard me sing.
Oh, yes, very often. Don't suppose you remember me at all?
You know, I had an idea that I'd seen you before, and it was almost as if I was about to remember your name, but the name I was about to remember wasn't a name, so I stopped myself.
Was it Blue Rose?
Roses? Oh my gosh. No, I didn't know if I connected with you in high school or some other, but that must have been it. It was high school. Gee, I didn't even know you were Shakespeare's sister. I'm sorry.
I didn't expect you to. You barely knew me.
Nah, but we did have a speaking acquaintance.
Yes, we spoke to each other.
Hey, didn't we have a class together?
Yes, we did.
What class was that?
It was singing.
Ah, singing.
Chorus. Sat across the aisle from me in the auditorium. Mondays, Wednesdays, Wednesdays and Fridays.
And I remember you now. You always came in late.
It was so hard for me getting upstairs. I had that brace on my leg then. It clumped so loud.
I don't remember any clubbing.
Oh, to me it sounded like thunder.
I never noticed.
Everybody was seated before I came in. I had to walk in front of all those people. My seat was in the back row. I had to go clumping up the aisle with everyone watching.
Oh, you shouldn't have been so self-conscious.
I know, but I was. It was always such a relief when the singing started.
Yeah, I remember those days. Blue roses. How did I ever get to calling your name like that?
Well, I was out of school a little while with chlorosis. When I came back, you asked me what was the matter. I said I had chlorosis, and you thought I said blue roses. So that's what you always called me after that.
I hope you didn't mind.
Oh no, I liked it. See, I wasn't acquainted with many people.
Yeah, I sort of remember you stuck by yourself a lot.
I never did have much luck in making friends.
I don't see why you wouldn't.
Well, I started out bad. Yeah, sort of stupid.
You shouldn't have let it.
I know, but it did.
You mean you were shy with people?
I tried not to be, but never could.
Overcoming?
No, I never could.
Yeah. Being shy is something you gotta kind of work out gradually.
Yeah, I guess it sort
It takes time.
of. Yes.
Lord, you know, people aren't so dreadful when you get to know them. It's like everybody has problems. You know, practically everybody has problems. You may think of yourself as being the only person that's disappointed, but you know, look around you. The whole world full of people just as disappointed as you are. I mean, take me for instance, boy, when I got out of high school, I thought I'd be a lot further than I am now. Hey, do you remember that wonderful write-up I had in the Torch?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I was speaking so highly of myself. I said I was bound to succeed in anything I did. God, Torch. That was an embarrassing moment for me.
Hey, are the pirates been?
The pirates! It's better to live and die. Under the brave black flag I fly. I sang the lead in that opera.
So beautifully.
Ah,
Yes, yes, beautifully, beautifully.
you heard me then too, huh?
I heard you all 3 times.
Oh,
Yes.
you heard all 3 performances?
Yes. Well, I wanted to ask you to autograph my program.
Why didn't you just ask me?
You were always surrounded by your own friends so much that I never had a chance.
Well, you should have just walked right up and said, hi, here's mine.
Well, I thought you might think I was...
Thought you might think that you was what?
Oh,
Ah, yes, I was beleaguered by females in those days.
terribly popular.
I
Friendly way.
was spoiled in high school, really.
Everybody liked it.
Including you?
Yes. I did too.
Give me that program. Here you go. Better late than never.
My, what a surprise.
Yeah, my signature's not worth much now, but you know, maybe someday it'll increase in value. You know, being disappointed is one thing, but being discouraged is another. I may not be disappointed, no, but I'm definitely not discouraged. Say, you finished high school?
I made bad grades at my final examinations.
You mean you dropped out?
I didn't go back. How is Emily Meisenbach getting along?
That crowhead?
Why do you call her that?
Because that's what she was.
You're not still going with her?
Oh no, I never even see her.
It said in the personal section that you were engaged.
Yeah, but I wasn't impressed by that piece of propaganda.
You mean it wasn't the truth?
Yeah, it's only true in Emily's optimistic opinion.
Oh,
So, what have you done since high school?
what?
I said, what have you done since high school?
Nothing much.
Well, you haven't been doing something all this time.
Yes,
Well, then, such as what?
I took a business course at business college.
That's great. How's that going?
Well, not very well. I had to drop out. It gave me indigestion.
Oh, So what are you doing now?
I don't do anything much. Oh, please don't think I sit around doing nothing. My glass collection takes a good deal of time. Glass is something you have to take good care of.
I'm sorry, did you say something about glass?
Collection, I said. I have one.
You know what I judge to be your problem, Lord? Inferiority complex. You know what that is? It's what you call it when a fellow low-rates himself. I had it when I was in high school too, you know. But I don't really remember my case being as aggravated as yours seems to be. You know, I had this until I took up public speaking. And I developed my voice, and I picked up like this aptitude for science. Really, no, before that time, I never thought of myself as being outstanding in any way whatsoever.
Oh, my.
Really, I never made a regular study of it, mind you, but I do have friends that tell me that I can make a better profession of it than doctors, that, you know, they do it. Now, I don't claim that to be necessarily true, but, you know, I can sure guess a person's psychology. Excuse me, Lord. Take the gum out. Flavor runs out so quickly. You know how it is when you get stuck on a shoe. Now, yeah, that is what I judge to be your principal trouble. A lack of self-confidence in yourself as a person. I'm basing this off of, you know, your numerous remarks and off a few observations I made of you. For instance, that little clumping you said you had on your leg, that was so awful in high school. You see what you did? You dropped out of school. You gave up an education all because of a little clump, which as far as I can see is practically non-existent. I mean, a little physical defect it is. I mean, it's something that's only 1,000 times in your own imagination. You know what my strong word of advice to you is? You really got to think of yourself as superior in some way.
In what way would I think?
I mean, man alive, Lord, look around you. What do you see? It's a world full of common people. All of them living, all of them going to die. Now, which one of them has 1/10 of your strong points, or mine, or anybody else's for that matter? I mean, it's incredible. You know, Laura, something just got to remember about that. I mean, and if you think about it in this sense, you know, these people, they may look down on you. You know, they may try and talk about you, talk bad things about you, but you know, it's all right. They're going to talk about it. Don't worry about it. Is that true? What kind of thing is that supposed to be? A unicorn, huh? Aren't unicorns supposed to be like dead now? Or what?
No.
Poor little fellow must feel kind of lonesome.
Well, he does. He doesn't complain about it. He stays on the shelf with some horses that don't have horns. They all seem to get along nicely together.
Yeah, they do. You said, you want to put them somewhere?
Put them on the table. They all like to change the scenery once in a while.
We do.
Here we go, baby. My shadow.
Yes. Stretched across the ceiling.
Your kisses run from the stars, came from your lips, not your heart. You make me happy.
Rain stop. Where's the music come from?
Paradise Island. Across the island.
You got me
How
crying.
about cutting the rug a little, Miss Wakefield?
I can't dance.
Oh, come on, there you go, that inferiority stuff.
I've never danced in my life.
Come on, try.
I'm happy.
But I'd step on.
Exhale.
I'm made out of glass.
One day you love me, next day when. One day I'm happy,
Hold your arms out.
sometimes I cry,
Half it like that.
and it's all over.
All right, now don't tighten that. That's the principal thing about it. Just relax.
It's hard not to.
All right.
I'm trying to
I'm afraid you can't touch me.
What do you bet I can?
got me dying to
Goodness, yes, you can.
Okay, just relax, Lord. Just relax and let yourself go. Come on. Lose your backbone, Lord. There we go.
It doesn't matter.
Is he broken? Ah.
Yes.
bet you never forget it. That was your favorite piece of glass, really.
Oh, I don't have favorites. Much. It's no tragedy. Glass breaks so easily, no matter how careful you are. Traffic jars and shelves, and things fall off them.
Still, I'm awfully sorry I was the cause of it.
I'll just imagine he had an operation. The harness was removed to make him feel less freakish. Now he'll feel more at home with the other horses, the ones that don't have horns.
Well, I'm glad to see that you have your sense of humor. You know, Laura, I never met anyone like you, really. Hope you don't mind me saying that. I really don't know how to say this. Really, I'm better at expressing things, but this is something I don't really know how to say. Has anyone ever told you that you were pretty? Yes, you are. In a different way. And all the nicer because of that difference. You know, being different is nothing to be ashamed of. Other people aren't such wonderful people. They're like 100 times 1,000. You're 1 times 1. You know, they walk all over the earth and you just stay right here. They're as common as weeds, and you're like blue roses.
But blue is wrong for roses.
It's right for you. You're pretty.
In what respect am I pretty?
In all respects. Your eyes, your hair, even your hands are pretty. I think that I'm just saying this because I'm invited to dinner and I have to be nice. I can say those things, Laura. I can say all those things and being sincere, but I'm talking to you sincerely now. I happen to notice that you have this inferiority complex that keeps you from being comfortable with people. You know, you got to get around people that are going to build your confidence, you know, way up there. Make you proud instead of shy. Keep you from turning away and blushing. Somebody ought to kiss you, Lord. I'm sorry about that. That was way off the being, really. I need a cigarette. You don't smoke. Can I get you a peppermint or a lifesaver or something like that? Just in my pocket's a regular drug. Lord, I'm sorry. You know, if I were Tom, I'd do the same thing he does. You know, I'd be a big brother to you. I build your confidence up. I bring fellows home to meet you and everything. But in my case, I'm not in a position. I can't take your phone number and tell you I'll call you. I can't call you up there to people with date. I thought I'd better explain the situation before, you know, things got out of hand. You misunderstood and I hurt your feelings.
You won't call again?
No, I can't. I've got strings on me. Lord, I've been on steady. I go out all the time with a girl named Betty. She's a nice, homely, quiet Catholic. In a great many ways, we get along just fine, you know. I met her on a moonlight boat trip up the river on Alton, on the Majestic. I tell you, it was love at first sight. The power of love is tremendous, you know. It changes your world. But it happens that Betty's aunt took sick. She got a wire up to Chintrilla, and naturally, when Tom invited me to dinner, I naturally accepted, not knowing what it meant to me. I mean, not knowing. God, I really wish you would talk. What's that for? It's for me. Why?
Souvenir.
Thank you.
Come in, children. Thought you would enjoy some liquid refreshments.
No, thank you, ma'am. Actually, I gotta be going.
Well, it's only the shank of the evening, Mr. O'Connor.
Well, you know how it is.
Well, we'll let you off easy this time, only under the condition that you stay later next time. Much later. How's Saturday?
Well, ma'am, actually, I have 2 time clocks to punch, one in the morning, one at night.
You mean you a working man keeping working man's hours?
Yes, ma'am. Well, not work, but Betty.
Who's Betty?
Well, Betty is the girl that I've been going steady with.
Is it serious?
Yes, we're going to be married the second Sunday in June.
Tom never said anything about you being engaged to be married.
Well, the cat's not out the bag yet at the warehouse, you know. Fellas get to calling you Romeo and stuff like that. Mrs. Wingfield, thank you so much for dinner. I really do appreciate it. I guess this is what you call Southern hospitality.
It's nothing at all, Mr. O'Connor.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I really don't want to be rushing off. Really, I got to get my jalopy down to the station. You know how it is when you get women waiting on you.
I understand the tyranny of women. Thank you so much for coming, Mr. O'Connor. Me and Laura wish you a good future and a good night. Right, Laura?
Yes, we do, Mother.
Laura, thank you so much for your souvenir.
Good night, Mr. O'Connor.
Good night, ladies.
Thank you.
So long, Shakespeare.
Good night. Our gentleman called was engaged to be married. Tom! Oh my. Come in here. I want to tell you something funny.
Has our gentleman caller gotten away already?
Our gentleman caller had an early departure, and that was a very funny joke you played on the both of us, too.
How do you mean?
You didn't mention that he was engaged to be married.
Jim? Engaged?
That's what he just informed us.
Well, I'll be jiggered. I didn't know.
Well, that seems very peculiar.
And what's peculiar about it?
Didn't you say that he was your best friend down at the warehouse?
He is, but how did I know?
So it seems very peculiar that you didn't know that your best friend was engaged to be married.
Mother, the warehouse is a place where I work, not where I know things about
You don't know anything anywhere. You live in a dream. You manufacture illusions. Where are you going? Where are you going?
I'm going to the movies!
That's right. Now that you made fools of everyone, all the preparation, effort, and expense, let's go. The new rug, the lamp, the clothes for Laura, all for what? To entertain some other woman's fiance? That's right. You go to the movies. Forget about us. A deserted mother. A crippled, unmarried sister who has no job. That's right. You go to the movies. Go to the movies. Go to the movies!
I will! And the more you shout at me about my disappointments, the quicker I'll go, and I won't just go to the movies.
Go then, you selfish dreamer.
I didn't go to the moon. I went much farther. For time is the longest distance between two places. I left St. Louis and descended the steps of this fire escape for the last time, and from then on followed in my father's footsteps, trying to find in motion what was lost in space. I traveled around a great deal, and cities swept past me like dead leaves. Leaves that were brightly colored, torn away from their branches. I tried to stop, but I was pursued by something. It always came upon me completely unawares, taking me altogether by surprise. Perhaps it was a familiar bit of music. Perhaps it was a tiny piece of transparent glass. Perhaps I am walking on some street at night in some strange city before I have found companions. Then I walk past a lighted window where perfume is sold. The window is filled with pieces of tiny transparent glass and tiny delicate bottles and delicate colors that look like shattered bits of rainbow. And all at once I turn around and look into my little sister's eyes. Oh, Lord. Lord, I tried to leave you behind, but I am more faithful than I intended to be. I reach for a cigarette. I run across the street to the nearest movie or bar. I buy a drink. I watch a movie, anything to blow out your candles, Lord. But nowadays, the world is lit by lightning. So blow out your candles, Lord. And so, goodbye.